Claire Anderson's water broke in the worst possible way, not the amniotic kind. But the moment she realized her marriage was drowning, and she'd been the only one bailing water, she stood outside the medical plaza, 6 months pregnant, and swaying slightly as another wave of nausea hit. The rain came down in sheets, turning the parking lot into a mirror of gray sky. Her phone showed 47 people ahead of her for a rideshare. 47. She called Ryan. "I am at prenatal," she said when he picked up. "Can you get me? The wait time for a car is over an hour." "Silence then. I am leaving the office now. 10 minutes. Claire felt something loosen in her chest. Maybe today wouldn't be one of the bad days. Maybe the man she'd fallen in love with 9 years ago was still in there somewhere, buried under spreadsheets and startup stress and whatever else had turned him into a stranger who flinched when she touched him. Ryan's Tesla pulled up 8 minutes later. Claire's relief lasted exactly as long as it took her to open the door and see Madison Taylor in the passenger seat. The young woman turned, all glossy hair and apologetic smile. "Oh, Claire, I am so sorry," Ryan said. "You needed a ride. I can totally move to the back." "Don't be ridiculous," Ryan said before Claire could respond. "It is pouring. Claire doesn't mind sitting in back for a few minutes, right?" It wasn't a question. Claire climbed into the back seat, her pregnant belly making the movement awkward. The car smelled different, sweeter. That vanilla jasmine scent Madison always wore, the one that made Claire's morning sickness flare up. She'd asked Ryan to change the car's air freshener months ago. He'd said he would. He hadn't. "Buckle up," Ryan said, pulling into traffic without checking the mirror. Claire's hand moved to the seatbelt, then to her stomach as the baby kicked. A boy. They were having a boy. She'd wanted to name him James. After her father, Ryan hadn't said yes or no yet. He hadn't said much of anything lately, except to Madison. "So the Riverside account went through," Madison was saying, her voice bright with the kind of energy Claire remembered having once before pregnancy fatigue and emotional exhaustion had dulled everything. "The client specifically asked for you to handle it personally. He was so impressed with the presentation." "That was good work," Ryan said. "You are really developing an eye for what investors want. I learned from the best." Claire watched Ryan's hand move from the steering wheel to briefly touch Madison's shoulder. Just a pat, congratulatory, professional. Except Ryan had a rule about physical contact at work. He'd had 3 assistants before Madison, all men, and he'd never so much as shaken their hands. "Ryan," Claire said, "can we go straight home? I am not feeling great." He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, and she saw it, that flicker of irritation he tried to hide. "Madison's place is on the way. It is 20 minutes in the opposite direction. In this traffic, everything's in the opposite direction." He turned left, away from their neighborhood. "It won't take long." Madison shifted in her seat, and Claire caught the movement of her hand going to her stomach. "I am actually not feeling so great either," the younger woman said softly. "If it is okay, Ryan, I might need to stop somewhere." Ryan's voice changed, softened. "Of course, there is a shopping center coming up. What do you need? Water, ginger ale?" "Maybe something warm. My cramps are pretty bad." Claire's fingers dug into her palms. She'd had her period for 20 years before getting pregnant. She knew what cramps felt like. She also knew what performance looked like, and Madison was giving an Oscar-worthy show. "There is a cafe," Ryan said, already signaling. "I'll run in and get you something." "What sounds good?" "Hot chocolate." "And maybe," Madison's voice dropped, almost shy, "do they have those cinnamon rolls? The smell always makes me feel better." "On it." Ryan pulled into the parking lot and was out of the car before Claire could point out that she was also uncomfortable, also in need of something to settle her stomach, also a human being who maybe deserved half the consideration he was showing his 24-year-old assistant. The rain drummed on the roof. Madison turned in her seat, and Claire saw the smile, not apologetic now, but triumphant. "Ryan's so thoughtful," she said. "I am really lucky to work for someone who cares so much about his team." "His team," Claire repeated flatly. "Well, you know what I mean. He is just so good at reading people, understanding what they need." Madison's hand went to her stomach again, fingers splayed. Some guys would think periods are gross or unprofessional to mention, but Ryan's so mature about it. Claire thought about 3 weeks ago when she'd thrown up in Ryan's car after smelling someone's fast food. He'd made her pay for the deep cleaning and hadn't spoken to her for 2 days. He'd called her dramatic, said she was using pregnancy as an excuse for everything. But Madison mentioned cramps, and suddenly Ryan was sprinting through the rain to buy her comfort food. "How long have you been Ryan's assistant?" Claire asked. 4 months. Best job I've ever had." Madison pulled out her phone, swiped through something. "He is teaching me so much about the business, and he is so patient when I make mistakes. Last week, I accidentally scheduled 2 meetings at the same time, and he just laughed it off." Claire remembered making the same mistake 2 years ago when she was Ryan's marketing director, before she'd been his wife, back when she'd still been Claire Anderson, who'd turned down MIT's research program to help Ryan launch his startup. He hadn't laughed. He dressed her down in front of 3 department heads and made her stay until midnight redoing the entire week's calendar. Ryan emerged from the CA Cafe, jacket soaked, holding a bag and a to-go cup. He got back in the car and handed them to Madison. "Hot chocolate with extra whipped cream, and they had fresh cinnamon rolls. Got you too." "You are the best," Madison said, and her hand touched his arm, lingered. Ryan didn't pull away. Claire watched the interaction through the gap between the seats, and something inside her that had been cracking for months finally split clean through, not with a bang, but with the quiet certainty of a door closing. "Thank you so much," Madison said, and the smell of cinnamon filled the car, rich and sweet and completely overwhelming. Claire's stomach lurched. "Ryan, I am going to be sick. Can you hold it? We're almost to Madison's place." Claire is vomiting in the rain, 6 months pregnant, and Ryan's concern is getting Madison home on schedule. This is the moment, not the photo, not the dress, not even the affair. This is when Claire realizes she is married to a man who would rather she throw up in a gutter than inconvenience his assistant. Some betrayals are loud. This one was quiet and devastating. "No, Jesus, Claire." He hit the hazards and pulled over, and Claire barely got the door open before she vomited into the gutter. Rain soaked her hair, her shoulders. She heaved until there was nothing left, then sat back, shaking. Ryan appeared with a handful of napkins from the cafe bag. "Here, thanks," Claire whispered. "Can you get back in? I really need to get Madison home." Claire looked up at him, this man she'd loved since she was 23, and saw a stranger who was more worried about his assistant's cramps than his pregnant wife throwing up in the rain. She wiped her mouth and climbed back into the car. Neither of them offered her the napkins or water. Madison sat forward, unwrapping a cinnamon roll, and the smell made Claire's eyes water. "Sorry," Madison said, not sounding sorry at all. "I am starving. Do you want half?" "She can't have it," Ryan said. "Sugar makes her nauseous." He was right, but he'd never once offered to buy her something that would help. Never stopped the car, never ran through the rain for her comfort. They drove to Madison's apartment in silence, broken only by the sound of the younger woman eating. When they finally pulled up to her building, Ryan got out with an umbrella to walk her to the door. Claire watched them through the rain-streaked window. Madison laughing at something, Ryan said, Ryan's hand on her elbow guiding her over puddles. He came back 5 minutes later, wet again, and said nothing. Your place or mine? Claire finally asked as they pulled back onto the road. What? Do we get divorced at your lawyer's office or mine? The car swerved slightly. What the hell are you talking about? I want a divorce. Ryan didn't speak for 3 blocks. His jaw worked like he was chewing glass, and his hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, his knuckles went white. When he finally pulled into their driveway, he killed the engine and turned to face her. You are being dramatic. Claire unbuckled her seatbelt, the movement slow and deliberate. I am being clear. Because I gave my assistant a ride home, because I bought her hot chocolate? His voice climbed. This is insane, even for you. For me, Claire repeated. She opened the door, hauled herself out of the back seat. Her legs felt unsteady, but her mind had never been clearer. Right, because I am the problem. Ryan followed her into the house, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. You are 6 months pregnant, and your hormones are all over the place. You are not thinking straight. I am thinking straighter than I have in years. Claire dropped her purse on the entry table, kicked off her shoes. I want a divorce. I'll have my lawyer contact yours tomorrow. Your lawyer, Ryan laughed, sharp and ugly. With what money? Or did you forget that you haven't worked in 8 months? There it was. The thing he'd been holding over her head since she'd agreed to take leave from her position as chief marketing officer. The thing he brought up every time she questioned him. Every time she asked for anything. Every time she dared to have needs. Community property state, Claire said. California's very generous to pregnant wives whose husbands are screwing their assistants. I am not screwing Madison. Not yet. Claire moved toward the stairs, each step an effort. But you want to, and honestly, Ryan, I don't care anymore. You can have her. You can have all of this. I just want out. He caught her arm halfway up. You are not going anywhere. Claire looked down at his hand, then up at his face. Let go of me. We're not getting divorced. Do you understand? We're having a baby. We're a family. We're a disaster. She pulled free, continued climbing. And I am done pretending otherwise. Claire. His voice changed, went softer. The voice he used to use back when he'd loved her. Come on, don't do this. We can talk about it. I'll do better. I'll pay more attention, whatever you need. She paused at the top of the stairs. What I need is a husband who doesn't make me sit in the back seat while his assistant sits up front. What I need is a man who doesn't spend 45 minutes buying comfort food for another woman while his pregnant wife waits in the car. What I need is someone who gives half a damn about me. I do give a damn. You are my wife. Then act like it. Claire turned to face him. When's my next appointment? What? My next prenatal appointment. When is it? Ryan's face went blank. I don't. It is in your calendar. It is in 2 days, Tuesday at 10. I've mentioned it 6 times. I asked you to come with me. She watched him scramble for an excuse and felt nothing. You know when Madison's performance review is, though. You know her favorite coffee order. You know she likes cinnamon rolls when she has cramps. That is not fair. No, Claire agreed. It is not. None of this is fair. But it is over. She went into their bedroom and locked the door. Behind her, Ryan pounded once, twice, then stopped. She heard his footsteps retreat, heard the guest room door slam. Claire sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out her phone. Her hands shook as she opened her messages, scrolled to her father's name, Dad. Can you recommend a divorce attorney? The response came in 30 seconds. Are you okay? Number, but I will be. I'll make some calls. Your mother and I are here, whatever you need. Claire set the phone down and let herself cry, not the desperate, gasping sobs she'd been holding back for months, but quiet tears of relief. She was done. She was finally done. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She almost didn't open it. But something made her thumb move. The message contained a single image. A screenshot from the company Slack channel, the casual water cooler chat where employees posted memes and Friday plans. Someone had shared a photo Ryan and Madison at a restaurant sitting close, his hand covering hers on the table. The caption read, "Boss man and his work wife looking cozy at Marcelo's last night." Below it, a string of comments, "They're always together lol. I give it 2 months before HR gets involved. Pretty sure his actual wife is pregnant." Yikes. Madison's Instagram stories are basically a Ryan Mitchell fan page at this point. Claire's vision blurred last night. Ryan had said he was working late, wouldn't be home until after 10. She'd eaten dinner alone, fallen asleep on the couch waiting for him. Another text came through from the unknown number. "Thought you should know. I am sorry, Jenna." From accounting, Claire saved the screenshot, then opened Instagram. She'd never followed Madison, but the girl's account was public. The most recent story was from 8 hours ago, a photo of a wine glass and pasta, the restaurant's ambiance romantic and dim. The location tag said Marcelo's. The next slide was a selfie, Madison's face glowing. And in the blurred background, unmistakably, Ryan's profile. The caption, "Best work dinners with the best boss." Claire took screenshots of everything. Then she opened her email and started a new message to her father. "Actually, I need that lawyer tonight. And I need them to be ruthless." She attached the Slack screenshot and the Instagram stories. Her finger hovered over the send button for only a moment before she pressed it. Downstairs, she heard Ryan's voice, muffled but angry. He was on the phone, probably with Madison, probably telling her about his crazy pregnant wife who was threatening divorce over nothing. Claire stood and walked to the closet. She pulled out a suitcase and started packing, not everything, just enough for a few days. Comfortable clothes, her laptop, the folder with all their financial documents that she'd been quietly organizing for the past month, ever since the night Ryan had come home smelling like vanilla and jasmine and lied about where he'd been. She'd known then, maybe she'd known for longer, but knowing and accepting were different things. And it had taken sitting in the back seat of her own husband's car, watching him fawn over another woman, to finally accept the truth. Her marriage was over, had been over for a while. She'd just been too tired, too pregnant, too hopeful to admit it. The baby kicked hard. Claire put her hand on her stomach. "It is okay," she whispered. "We're going to be okay." Her phone rang, her mother. "Your father told me," Elizabeth Anderson said without preamble. "Pack a bag, we're coming to get you." "Mom, it is almost 9. "Pack a bag, Claire. You are not staying there tonight. I don't want to cause trouble. I just need the lawyer's name. You are my daughter. You are 6 months pregnant, and your husband is cheating on you." Her mother's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Pack a bag. We'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Claire finished packing in a daze. She heard Ryan's footsteps on the stairs, heard him try the bedroom door. "Claire, open up. We need to talk about this like adults. I am done talking." "You can't just leave. Where are you going to go?" "My parents, of course." His laugh was bitter. "Run to mommy and daddy. Let them tell you what a terrible husband I am. Let them poison you against me even more." Claire opened the door so fast he stumbled back. "They don't need to poison me against you, Ryan. You did that all by yourself." She pushed past him, suitcase in hand. He followed her down the stairs, still talking, his voice rising. "This is ridiculous. You are throwing away 9 years over nothing. over me being nice to an employee, over me not reading your mind about every little thing you need. I don't need you to read my mind. Claire reached the front door, set down her suitcase. I need you to care, and you don't. Not about me, maybe not about this baby either. How dare you? You haven't come to a single appointment. You haven't asked how I am feeling. You flinch when I touch you. You sleep in the guest room half the time. You work late every night. And when you are home, you are on your phone texting her. Claire's voice stayed level, calm. You checked out of this marriage months ago. I am just making it official. Headlights swept across the front windows, her parents' car. If you walk out that door, Ryan said, don't come back. Claire picked up her suitcase. I won't. She walked out into the rain for the second time that night. But this time, her father was there with an umbrella. Her mother took the suitcase. Neither of them said a word as they helped her into the car. As they pulled away, Claire looked back once. Ryan stood in the doorway, backlit and alone, and she felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even relief yet. Just the quiet certainty that she'd made the right choice. Her phone buzzed, a text from Ryan. You'll regret this. She deleted it and blocked his number. The lawyer's name is Sarah Chen, her father said from the driver's seat. She is expecting your call first thing tomorrow. She is the best in the state. Thank you. We're proud of you, her mother said softly. I know that doesn't help right now, but we are. Claire leaned her head against the window and watched the city lights blur past. Somewhere behind her was the life she'd built, the man she'd loved, the future she'd imagined. Somewhere ahead was everything else. Sarah Chen's office was all glass and steel, perched on the 32nd floor with views of the bay that probably cost more per square foot than Claire's first apartment. The lawyer herself was 40-something, sharp-eyed, wearing a suit that screamed competence and a smile that promised blood. Your father sent over the preliminary documents, Sarah said, sliding a folder across her desk. I've reviewed everything, the Slack screenshot, the Instagram posts, the financial records you compiled. You've been thorough. I am a marketing director, Claire said. I know how to build a case. Good, because Ryan Mitchell's attorney called me this morning. Sarah's smile sharpened. He wants to negotiate. Claire's hand went to her stomach, where the baby was doing somersaults. Already? Your husband is a smart man. He knows what discovery will look like. Company Slack channels, email records, credit card statements. He has been taking Madison Taylor to expensive dinners for months, all on the company card. That is going to look very bad to a judge, especially with you 6 months pregnant. He'll say they were business dinners. At Marcello's at the Ivy, at that new French place in Napa. Sarah pulled out another document. I had my investigator do a quick preliminary sweep. Your husband and his assistant have been on 3 overnight business trips together in the past 2 months, to conferences that, interestingly, neither of them actually attended. Claire's stomach dropped. How do you know they didn't attend? Conference registration records are public. Neither of their names appear. Sarah leaned back. They stayed at the same hotels, separate rooms, but on the same floor. Room service charges show meals for 2 delivered to his room on multiple occasions. The baby kicked hard, and Claire pressed her hand against the spot. I want everything, the house, the car, full custody. I want him to pay. He will, but Claire, Sarah's voice gentled slightly. I need to ask, are you sure? Divorce is expensive emotionally and financially. Some women in your position choose to wait until after the baby is born. It is easier, legally speaking. Claire met the lawyer's eyes. I am not spending one more day pretending this marriage isn't dead. I am not raising my son in a house where his father is in love with someone else. All right then. Sarah pulled out a legal pad. Let's talk strategy. They spent 2 hours going through everything: assets, debts, custody arrangements, spousal support. Claire's head spun with terms like community property and temporary orders and deposition schedules. By the time she left, she had a stack of papers to sign and a court date in 3 weeks. Her phone had 17 missed calls from Ryan. She'd unblocked him that morning on Sarah's advice. We need documentation of everything he says, and immediately regretted it. The voicemails started apologetic, progressed to angry, and ended with desperate. The last one, left 20 minutes ago, made her hands shake. Claire, please, I talked to Madison. I told her we need to maintain professional boundaries. I am ending the mentorship program. She is being reassigned to a different department. Isn't that what you wanted? Just call me back. We can fix this. Think about our son. She deleted it and called her mother instead. How did it go? Elizabeth asked. He is already trying to do damage control. Reassigning Madison, claiming it was all innocent. Too little, too late. That is what Sarah said. Claire pushed through the building's revolving door into afternoon sunshine. She thinks we can get a temporary custody order that gives me primary physical custody once the baby's born. Ryan would get supervised visitation until we can establish a permanent arrangement. Good, you don't need him anywhere near you or that baby unsupervised, not after. Her mother's voice caught. I am sorry, I am trying not to be angry, but when I think about him making you sit in the back seat, don't. I can't think about it either, or I'll lose it. Claire spotted her father's car in the parking garage. He'd insisted on driving her to all her appointments now, refusing to let her take ride shares. Is Dad there? Right here, her father's voice came through. Warm and steady. How is my grandson? Active. I think he is training for a marathon in there. Good, he is a fighter, like his mother. Claire's eyes burned. I don't feel like a fighter. I feel like I am barely holding it together. That is what fighting looks like sometimes, her father said. You think soldiers in battle feel brave. They're terrified, but they keep moving forward anyway. That is what you are doing. She reached the car and slid into the passenger seat. Sarah wants me to make a list of witnesses, people who saw Ryan and Madison together, who can testify about their relationship. The entire office from the sound of it. Yeah, but I need people willing to go on record. That is different. Claire buckled her seatbelt. I am going to call Jenna from accounting. She is the one who sent me that Slack screenshot. Maybe she knows others who'd be willing to talk. Do what you need to do. Your mother and I are behind you 100%. They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Claire watched the city slide past, the coffee shop where she and Ryan used to meet for breakfast, the park where he'd proposed, the hospital where she'd had her first ultrasound. Every corner held a memory, and all of them hurt. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Madison, can we talk? Claire stared at the message, her heart rate spiking. You've got to be kidding me. What? Her father asked. Madison just texted me. The assistant, how did she get your number? Ryan probably gave it to her. Claire's thumb hovered over the keyboard. She wants to talk. Don't respond. Forward it to Sarah. I want to know what she has to say. Claire, I am not going to engage. I just want to see what she wants. Claire typed quickly about what? The response came immediately. About Ryan. About everything. I think you deserve to know the truth. The truth, Claire said aloud, as if I don't already know it. Another message, I am not what you think. He told me you two were separated, that you were only staying together because of the baby. He said you didn't love him anymore. Claire's vision went red. He told her we were separated. Ryan told Madison they were separated, the classic playbook. But here is what is interesting. Madison believed him because she wanted to. Claire believed him for 9 years because she had to. Both women were living in Ryan's alternate reality. The difference: Claire woke up. Madison got fired. That is not karma. That is just what happens when you are useful until you are not. That son of a... Her father called. Forward everything to Sarah right now. Claire took screenshots, sent them to the lawyer, then typed, "We were never separated. We were married and expecting a baby. You knew that. I didn't know. He said you had an arrangement, that you were both seeing other people. That is a lie. I believe you. That is why I am texting. I think he has been lying to both of us." Claire's hands shook so hard she could barely type. "Did you sleep with him?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally number, but he wanted to. He tried on the last business trip. I said no. That is when things got weird. Weird how? He got angry, said I'd been leading him on, that I owed him after everything he'd done for my career. I told him I was going to HR, and he said if I did, he'd make sure I never worked in this industry again. Claire felt sick. Dad, pull over. He did, and she barely got the door open before she threw up on the side of the road. Her father held her hair back, murmuring soothing nonsense, and when she was done, he handed her a bottle of water from the console. I am calling Sarah, he said. Wait. Claire wiped her mouth, her mind racing. If Madison's telling the truth, if Ryan threatened her, that is leverage. That is also potentially criminal. Quid pro quo sexual harassment, abuse of power. Her father's jaw was tight. Your husband is worse than I thought. Claire's phone buzzed again. I am sorry, I know that doesn't help, but I thought he was single. I thought we were just 2 people who connected. I didn't know I was helping him cheat on his pregnant wife. Why are you telling me this now? Because he just fired me, said I was being insubordinate. I went to HR and they said there is nothing they can do. He is the CEO, but I kept records, texts, emails, everything. I thought maybe you could use them. Claire's heart pounded. She kept records. Tell her to send everything to Sarah, her father said. Don't get directly involved. Claire typed, send everything to my lawyer. Sarah Chen at Chen Associates. Do it today, okay? And Claire, I really am sorry for what it is worth. Claire didn't respond. She forwarded the entire conversation to Sarah, then called her. I was just about to call you, Sarah said. I got the screenshots. This is good. This is very good. How good? If Madison Taylor is willing to testify, and if she has documentation of Ryan's harassment, we're not just talking about a favorable divorce settlement anymore. We're talking about potential criminal charges. We're talking about him losing his company. I don't want to destroy him, Claire said. I just want out. I understand. But Claire, you need to think about your son, about the kind of man his father is, about whether you want that man having unsupervised access to a child. Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. Ryan Mitchell is a predator. He targeted a young employee, lied to her about his marriage, and when she rejected him, he retaliated. That is not just infidelity, that is abuse of power. Claire closed her eyes. The baby kicked, and she put her hand on her stomach. What do I do? You let me handle it. Madison's sending me her records. I'll review everything, and we'll decide on next steps. In the meantime, you focus on staying healthy and keeping that baby safe. Okay, and Claire, change your number, block Ryan completely. All communication goes through me from now on. After they hung up, Claire sat in the car, staring at her phone. 9 years. She'd given Ryan 9 years of her life. She'd turned down her dream job to help him build his company. She'd worked 80-hour weeks, sacrificed her own ambitions, believed in him when no one else did. And he'd repaid her by chasing after a 24-year-old, lying to them both, and threatening the girl's career when she wouldn't sleep with him. "I want to go home," Claire said. "To your house. I want to lie down." "Of course." Her father started the car. "Your mother's making pot roast, your favorite." "I am not hungry." "You will be, and if you are not, the baby will be. He needs you to eat." Claire nodded, too tired to argue. As they drove, her phone buzzed one more time. Ryan, from a different number. "I know you are reading these. I know you are turning everyone against me. But you are making a mistake. I am the father of your child. I have rights, and I will fight for them." She showed her father, who swore under his breath. "Forward it to Sarah, then block this number too." Claire did, then turned off her phone entirely. She leaned her head against the window and watched the world blur past. And for the first time in months, she felt something like hope. Ryan had made his choices. Now he'd live with the consequences. And she was going to build a new life for herself and her son. A life where she didn't have to beg for basic respect, where she didn't have to compete with younger women for her own husband's attention, where she was enough just as she was. The baby kicked again, and Claire smiled. "We're going to be okay," she whispered. "I promise." The story broke on a Thursday. Claire was in her childhood bedroom, now converted into a temporary nursery, with her mother's enthusiastic help, folding tiny onesies when her phone exploded with notifications. She'd gotten a new number 2 days ago, given it only to family and Sarah, but somehow the messages found her anyway. Former colleagues, college friends, people she hadn't spoken to in years. "Is this true? OMG, I just saw the news. I always knew Ryan was a creep." Her hands went numb. "Mom," Elizabeth appeared in the doorway, took one look at Claire's face, and crossed the room in 3 strides. "What happened?" Claire handed her the phone. Her mother's expression darkened as she scrolled. "That bastard," Elizabeth breathed. "He is trying to control the narrative." Claire grabbed the phone back and opened Twitter. The top trending topic in their city, number Mitchell Tech. Ryan had posted a statement an hour ago. "It is with a heavy heart that I address recent rumors about my personal life. My wife and I are going through a difficult time, as many couples do. I made mistakes, I got too close to an employee, crossed professional boundaries, and I take full responsibility for that. But I want to be clear, I never had a physical relationship with anyone outside my marriage. I am committed to being the best father I can be to my son, and I am working with my wife to find an amicable solution. I ask for privacy during this difficult time. Number family first, number accountability, amicable solution," Claire said. "He is making it sound like we're working things out. He is trying to get ahead of Madison's testimony." Her mother handed back the phone. "Call Sarah now." Sarah picked up on the first ring. "I saw. I am already drafting a We're not working on anything. I haven't spoken to him in 5 days." "I know, which is why we're going to make that very clear." Keys clicked in the background. "I am sending a statement to the press in the next hour. It will say that you filed for divorce 2 weeks ago, that you have not been in contact with Ryan except through legal counsel, and that his characterization of your separation as amicable is false. Will that help? It'll keep him from controlling the story. But Claire, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get ugly. Ryan's a public figure. His company is worth $200 million. The press is going to dig into everything. Let them dig. I have nothing to hide." Good, because Madison's lawyer contacted me this morning. She is filing a formal complaint with the EEOC and considering a civil suit against Ryan and Mitchell Tech. She wants to know if you'd be willing to provide a statement supporting her claims. Claire's heart raced. What kind of statement? Corroborating evidence of Ryan's behavior. The fact that he lied to her about your marriage. The timeline of events. It would strengthen her case considerably, and it would destroy Ryan's reputation completely. Yes, Sarah said simply, it would. Claire walked to the window, outside. Her father was setting up a crib in the garage, his movements careful and methodical. He'd taken the week off work to help her, to make sure she wasn't alone. Her mother had canceled 3 board meetings. They'd both dropped everything to catch her when she fell. Ryan hadn't even asked how she was feeling. I'll do it, Claire said. Whatever Madison needs, I'll provide it. Are you sure? Once you go on record supporting her claims, there is no walking it back. Ryan will paint you as vindictive, as trying to destroy him out of spite. He is already painting me as crazy, as hormonal, as dramatic. Claire's voice hardened. At least this way, I am telling the truth. All right, I'll coordinate with Madison's attorney. In the meantime, stay off social media. Don't respond to any press inquiries. Everything goes through me. After they hung up, Claire sat on the edge of the bed and let herself feel it, the weight of what she was about to do. Going public meant exposing her private pain. It meant admitting that her marriage had failed, that she'd been betrayed, that she'd been so blind. But it also meant protecting other women. It meant making sure Ryan couldn't do this again. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Jenna from accounting. I saw Ryan's statement. A bunch of us from the office want you to know we're on your side. We've all seen how he treated you. If you need witnesses, we're here. Claire's eyes burned. She typed back, thank you. That means more than you know. Another message came through. This one from someone named Derek. Ryan just called an all-hands meeting. He is doing damage control, saying Madison was obsessed with him, that she misinterpreted his mentorship. It is bullshit. Half the office is ready to walk. Then another from someone named Priya. HR is scrambling. 3 more women have come forward with complaints about Ryan. This is bigger than just Madison. Claire's hands shook. 3 more. How long had this been going on? How many people had Ryan hurt while she'd been at home? Pregnant and trusting. She forwarded everything to Sarah, then opened her laptop against her lawyer's advice. She pulled up Twitter and started reading. The responses to Ryan's statement were mixed. Some people praised him for taking accountability. Others called him out for the vague non-apology. But the replies that made Claire's stomach turn were the ones attacking her. Gold digger wife trying to take him for everything. Bet she is not even pregnant, probably faked it to trap him. Women always play victim when their meal ticket tries to leave. She is probably crazy. Pregnant women are hormonal AF, don't read that garbage, her mother said from the doorway. Those people don't know you. They don't know what happened. They think they do. Ryan's making sure of that. Claire closed the laptop. He is going to destroy me, isn't he? My reputation, my career, everything. He is going to try. But Claire, you have something he doesn't. What is that? The truth. Elizabeth sat beside her, took her hand. And people who love you, people who will stand up for you, that is more powerful than any PR campaign. Claire wanted to believe her, but as her phone continued to buzz with messages, some supportive, some vicious, she felt the walls closing in. That night, Sarah's statement went out. On behalf of my client, Claire Mitchell, I want to clarify several inaccuracies in Ryan Mitchell's recent public statement. Mrs. Mitchell filed for divorce on the 15th of March after discovering evidence of her husband's inappropriate relationship with a subordinate employee. The separation is not amicable, and the parties are not working together on any resolution. Mrs. Mitchell has had no direct contact with Mr. Mitchell since retaining legal counsel. She is focused on her health, her pregnancy, and preparing for the birth of her son. She asks that her privacy be respected during this difficult time. The internet exploded. Within an hour, Number Team Claire was trending alongside Number Mitchell Tech. Think pieces appeared on every major news site. The CEO, the assistant, and the pregnant wife. A tale as old as time. Why we need to stop blaming women for men's infidelity. Mitchell Tech's culture problem. Former employees speak out. Claire's phone rang, Sarah. 3 major outlets want interviews. Good Morning America, The Today Show, and 60 Minutes. No, Claire said immediately. I can't. I am not ready. I understand. But Claire, Ryan's going to keep controlling the narrative if you don't tell your side. He has already scheduled an interview with TechCrunch for tomorrow. He is going to play the remorseful husband, the man who made a mistake, but is trying to do right by his family. Let him. I don't care what people think. You should care because public opinion affects custody arrangements. If Ryan convinces people that you are unstable, that you are vindictive, that you are keeping his son from him out of spite. Judges read the news too. Claire closed her eyes. What do you recommend? One interview, carefully controlled, with someone sympathetic. We tell your story, we show the evidence, and we let people see who you really are. A woman who was betrayed, who is trying to protect herself and her child. I need to think about it. You have 24 hours after that. Ryan's interview drops, and we lose the advantage. Claire spent the night pacing her room, her mind racing. The baby kicked and rolled, sensing her agitation. She put her hand on her stomach and tried to breathe. At 2 a.m., she made her decision. She texted Sarah, I'll do it, but only if we can include Madison. I want people to hear from both of us. The response came immediately, I'll make it happen. The interview was scheduled for Saturday morning, 3 days away, 3 days to prepare, to figure out what she wanted to say, to steel herself for the moment when her private pain became public property. Claire stood at the window, watching the sun rise over the city. Somewhere out there, Ryan was probably sleeping peacefully, confident in his ability to spin this story, confident that he'd win because he always won. But he'd never faced her like this before. He'd never seen her angry, determined, done with his manipulation. He was about to learn what happened when you pushed Claire Anderson Mitchell too far. She picked up her phone and called Sarah. I want to file for full custody, Claire said. Not just primary, full. I want Ryan to have supervised visitation only, and I want it documented that he is not to be alone with our son until he completes a parenting course and a psychological evaluation. That is aggressive. We'll need to justify it. We have 3 women who filed complaints about his behavior. We have evidence of him lying, manipulating, and retaliating against an employee who rejected him. We have proof that he prioritized his affair over his pregnant wife's well-being. Claire's voice was steel. That is not a man who should have unsupervised access to a vulnerable infant. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then, all right, I'll draft the motion. But Claire, this means war. Ryan will fight back with everything he has. Good, Claire said. I am ready. She hung up and placed both hands on her stomach, where her son was waking up, stretching, preparing for another day of growing. Your daddy made a choice, she whispered. He chose his ego over his family. He chose lies over truth. And now he is going to learn that actions have consequences. The baby kicked, hard and strong. Claire smiled. That is right. Little one, we're fighters, both of us. The studio was smaller than Claire expected, intimate in a way that made her feel exposed. Two chairs angled toward each other, a small table between them, with a box of tissues that felt like a prop. Madison sat in the makeup chair next to her, both of them being powdered and primped for the cameras. "You don't have to do this," Claire said quietly. It was the first time they'd spoken face to face. Madison met her eyes in the mirror. She was younger than Claire had realized, 24, but looking barely 20, with the kind of fresh-faced optimism that Ryan had probably found irresistible. "Yes, I do. He needs to be stopped. I am sorry he put you in this position. I am sorry I believed him." Madison's voice cracked. "I should have known. The signs were all there, but he was so convincing. He made me feel special, like I was the only person who understood him." "That is what he does," Claire said. "He makes you feel like you are the center of his universe until you are not." The makeup artist stepped back. "You are both ready." Sarah appeared, clipboard in hand, all business. "Remember what we discussed. Stay calm. Stick to the facts. Don't let them bait you into saying anything emotional or reactive. This is about the truth, not revenge." "Got it," Claire said, though her heart was hammering. The interviewer was a woman named Patricia Chen, known for her tough but fair questioning. She'd built her career on holding powerful men accountable. When she walked in, she shook both their hands with genuine warmth. "Thank you for doing this," Patricia said. "I know it is not easy." "It is necessary," Claire replied. They took their seats. The lights were blinding. Claire could feel sweat gathering at the small of her back despite the air conditioning. Beside her, Madison's hands were clenched in her lap. "We're rolling in 3, 2, 1. Patricia turned to the camera, her expression serious. "Tonight, we're speaking with Claire Mitchell and Madison Taylor about allegations that have rocked the tech industry. Ryan Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell Tech, has been accused of having an inappropriate relationship with his employee while his wife was pregnant. But as we'll hear tonight, this story goes much deeper than a simple affair." She turned to Claire. "Mrs. Mitchell, thank you for being here. Let's start at the beginning. When did you first suspect something was wrong in your marriage?" Claire took a breath, looking back, probably 6 months ago. Ryan started working late more often. He was distant, distracted, but I was pregnant, exhausted, and I trusted him. I thought he was just stressed about the company. "When did you discover the truth?" 2 weeks ago, we were driving home from a work event, and Ryan insisted I sit in the back seat so Madison could sit up front. Then he spent 45 minutes buying her hot chocolate and comfort food while I waited in the car, 6 months pregnant. Claire's voice stayed steady. "That is when I knew, not suspected, knew." "What did you do?" "I asked for a divorce that night." Patricia turned to Madison. "Miss Taylor, you were Ryan Mitchell's executive assistant. When did your relationship with him begin?" Madison's voice was small but clear. "About 8 months ago. He started asking me to work late, to accompany him to dinners and events. He said I had potential, that he wanted to mentor me. I was flattered. He is brilliant, successful, and he seemed genuinely interested in my career. When did it become romantic? It didn't. Not physically." Madison's hands twisted together. "But emotionally, yes, he told me his marriage was over, that he and Claire were only staying together because of the baby. He said they had an arrangement, that they were both seeing other people. He made me believe I wasn't doing anything wrong." Claire felt the words like a punch. Hearing it said out loud, in Madison's voice, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "But you never had a physical relationship," Patricia pressed. "Number he tried on our last business trip to San Francisco. We'd been drinking. and he came to my room. He kissed me, started pushing for more. I said no. Madison's voice broke. That is when everything changed. Changed how? He got angry, said I'd been leading him on, that I owed him after everything he'd done for my career. When I said I was going to HR, he told me I'd never work in tech again, that he'd make sure of it. And then he fired me, called it insubordination. But it was retaliation, pure and simple. Patricia leaned forward. Miss Taylor, you filed a formal complaint with the EEOC. What are you alleging? Sexual harassment, quid pro quo. Retaliation, abuse of power. Madison's voice grew stronger. Ryan Mitchell used his position to pursue a relationship with me, lied about his circumstances to manipulate me, and when I rejected him, he destroyed my career. That is illegal, and it is wrong. Mrs. Mitchell, Patricia turned back to Claire. You are supporting Miss Taylor's claims. Some people might wonder why. After all, she was involved with your husband. She was lied to, Claire said firmly. Ryan told her we were separated. He manipulated her the same way he manipulated me. Madison is a victim here, not a villain. That is a remarkably generous perspective. It is the truth. And I am tired of women being pitted against each other when the real problem is men who abuse their power. Claire's hands rested on her stomach. I am 7 months pregnant. I should be preparing for my son's birth, not sitting here exposing my husband's lies. But if I don't speak up, he'll do this again. To someone else's wife, to someone else's employee. You filed for divorce and full custody. That is an aggressive legal strategy. It is a protective one. Ryan has shown that he prioritizes his desires over everyone else's well-being. Mine, Madison's, even our unborn sons. He missed every prenatal appointment. He couldn't tell you my due date. He was too busy pursuing a woman young enough to be his daughter. Patricia's expression was sympathetic but probing. Ryan Mitchell has given his own interview, which will air tomorrow. In it, he claims you are being vindictive, that you are trying to destroy him because you are hurt and angry. How do you respond? I am hurt. I am angry. But that doesn't make me wrong. Claire pulled out her phone, handed it to Patricia. These are text messages between Ryan and Madison. You can see the timeline, the manipulation, the lies. These are credit card statements showing expensive dinners and hotel rooms. These are emails from other employees at Mitchell Tech, women who've come forward with their own stories about Ryan's inappropriate behavior. Patricia scrolled through, her expression darkening. How many other women? 5 at last count. All young, all subordinates, all afraid to speak up because of who he is, what he could do to their careers. Miss Taylor, you mentioned you kept records. Can you tell us about that? Madison nodded. I saved everything. Every text, every email, every Slack message. At first, I kept them because they made me feel special proof that this important man cared about me. But after he fired me, I realized they were evidence. Evidence of a pattern of predatory behavior. And you are willing to make these records public? Yes, all of it. Because women need to know who Ryan Mitchell really is. Patricia turned back to the camera. We reached out to Ryan Mitchell and Mitchell Tech for comment. Mr. Mitchell declined to appear on this program, but his attorney provided the following statement. Mr. Mitchell denies all allegations of harassment and retaliation. Ms. Taylor was terminated for legitimate performance issues, and any suggestion otherwise is defamatory. Mr. Mitchell is committed to being an active father to his son and is saddened by his wife's decision to weaponize their divorce. Claire felt her jaw tighten. Weaponize, as if protecting my child from a man who lies, manipulates, and retaliates against women is somehow an attack. What do you want people to know, Mrs. Mitchell? That this isn't about revenge, it is about accountability. Ryan Mitchell built a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but he did it by stepping on people, women specifically. He used his power to pursue relationships with employees. And when they didn't give him what he wanted, he destroyed them. That is not leadership. That is abuse. And what do you want for your son? Claire's hand went to her stomach, where the baby was kicking. I want him to grow up knowing that actions have consequences, that you can't lie and manipulate and hurt people without facing repercussions. And I want him to grow up respecting women, treating them as equals, never using his power to take advantage of someone vulnerable. Her voice broke slightly. I want him to be nothing like his father. Patricia let the silence hang for a moment, then turned to Madison. What is next for you? I am pursuing my EOC complaint. I am considering a civil suit. And I am speaking out so other women know they're not alone. Ryan Mitchell tried to silence me, but I won't be silenced. Mrs. Mitchell, what is next for you? I am having a baby in 2 months. I am rebuilding my life, and I am making sure my son is protected from a man who has proven he can't be trusted. Claire met the camera directly. Ryan, if you are watching this, you did this. You made these choices, and now you get to live with them. Patricia wrapped up the interview, thanked them both, and the lights went down. Claire sat in the sudden darkness, feeling hollowed out and strangely light at the same time. Sarah appeared immediately. That was perfect, exactly what we needed. I feel like I am going to throw up, Claire said. That is normal. But you did great, both of you. Sarah looked at Madison. Your attorney is waiting outside. She wants to discuss next steps. Madison stood, then turned to Claire. Thank you for believing me, for standing with me. Thank you for being brave enough to speak up. They hugged briefly, 2 women bound together by one man's betrayal. After Madison left, Claire's mother appeared with a bottle of water and a granola bar. Eat. You look pale. I just told the entire world that my husband is a predator. You told the truth. There is a difference. Elizabeth sat beside her. I am proud of you, sweetheart. I know that wasn't easy. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. No, her mother said gently. The hardest thing is what comes next, living with the fallout, raising your son alone, rebuilding your life from scratch. Claire's eyes burned. What if I can't do it? What if I am not strong enough? You are, you just proved it. Elizabeth took her hand. You stood up to a powerful man who tried to destroy you. You protected other women at great personal cost. You are already stronger than you know. They sat together in the quiet studio, mother and daughter, while outside the world began to react. By the time Claire got home, the interview clips were everywhere. Twitter was on fire. Number Believe at Claire was trending worldwide. Think pieces were The Reckoning of Ryan Mitchell. Why we must believe women. Mitchell text board calls emergency meeting. Claire's phone buzzed with messages of support. Former colleagues, college friends, women she'd never met, thanking her for speaking up. But there were other messages too. Vicious ones, threatening ones. People who called her a liar, a gold digger, a vindictive bitch trying to destroy a good man. Sarah called at midnight. Mitchell Tech's board just announced they're placing Ryan on administrative leave, pending an investigation. 3 major investors have pulled out. The company's stock dropped 18% in after-hours trading. Good, Claire said, and meant it, Ryan's attorney called. He wants to negotiate a settlement, full custody off the table, but generous visitation and financial support. Number Claire, I said no. He doesn't get to buy his way out of this. He doesn't get to negotiate. He made his choices, and now he faces the consequences. Sarah was quiet for a moment. All right, then we go to court. But it is going to be brutal. I know. And you are ready for that? Claire looked down at her stomach, where her son was sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm raging around him. I am ready, she hung up, and lay back on the bed, exhausted but unable to sleep. Tomorrow, Ryan's interview would air. He'd tell his side, paint himself as the victim, try to destroy her credibility. But she'd already told the truth, and the truth, once spoken, couldn't be taken back. Claire closed her eyes and felt her son kick, strong and steady. We're going to be okay, she whispered. I promise. Outside, the world kept turning. The story kept spreading. And somewhere in the city, Ryan Mitchell was learning that some things, some people, couldn't be controlled. Ryan's interview aired on Sunday morning, and Claire watched it with her parents, Sarah, on speakerphone. He looked good, she had to give him that. Perfectly styled hair, a hint of stubble that read as vulnerable, wearing the navy sweater she'd bought him for Christmas, the one that made his eyes look bluer. He knew exactly what he was doing. I made mistakes, Ryan said, his voice heavy with manufactured remorse. I got too close to an employee. I crossed boundaries I shouldn't have crossed. But I never, and I want to be very clear about this, I never had a physical affair. I never harassed anyone. And I certainly never threatened Madison Taylor's career. The interviewer, a man named David Chen, who was known for softball questions, nodded sympathetically. Your wife and Miss Taylor paint a very different picture. My wife is hurt. I understand that. I hurt her, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. Ryan's eyes glistened. Were those actual tears? But Claire is also 7 months pregnant, hormonal, and she is listening to people who want to see me fail. Madison Taylor was fired for legitimate performance issues, and now she is trying to rewrite history to avoid taking responsibility for her own shortcomings. Claire's mother made a disgusted sound, hormonal. He actually said hormonal. Let him talk, Sarah said through the phone. He is digging his own grave. What about the other women who've come forward? David asked. 5 former employees have now filed complaints alleging inappropriate behavior. Ryan's expression hardened slightly. Disgruntled employees looking for a payout. It is unfortunate, but when you run a successful company, you become a target. People see dollar signs. But the text messages, the emails, taken out of context. I am a friendly boss. I mentor my employees. Apparently, in today's climate, that is somehow suspicious. Ryan leaned forward. Look, I am not perfect. I made mistakes in my marriage. But I am a good man, a good CEO, and I am going to be a great father. My son deserves to have me in his life, and I won't let false accusations keep me from him. Your wife is seeking full custody, which is vindictive and cruel. She is using our son as a weapon because she is angry at me. But I have rights. I am his father, and I will fight for him. The interview continued for another 20 minutes. Ryan positioning himself as the victim of a witch hunt, a good man brought down by vengeful women and cancel culture. By the end, Claire felt sick. He is good, she said quietly. He almost sounds believable. To people who want to believe him, Sarah said, but we have evidence, text messages, emails, testimony from multiple women. The court won't be swayed by his performance. What about public opinion? Split as expected. But Claire, you need to stop reading the comments. Stop watching the coverage. Focus on yourself and the baby. Easier said than done. Over the next week, Claire became a reluctant public figure. Her face was on every news site, every social media platform. People she'd never met had opinions about her marriage, her choices, her body. She should have known what she was getting into, marrying a CEO, gold digger, trying to take him for everything. I believe her. Ryan Mitchell is a predator. Both of them are lying for attention. The stress-triggered contractions, Braxton Hicks, her doctor assured her, but still frightening. Her mother insisted she stay in bed. Her father screened all her calls. Sarah handled the media circus. And through it all, the baby kept growing, kept kicking, kept reminding her why she was doing this. The court date arrived on a Tuesday in April. Claire was 8 months pregnant, moving slowly, her back aching. She wore a simple black dress that accommodated her belly, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back. She wanted to look like what she was, a tired, pregnant woman seeking protection for her child. Ryan arrived with an entourage, 3 attorneys, a PR person, and his mother, who glared at Claire with undisguised hatred. He wore an expensive suit and an expression of wounded dignity. They didn't speak, didn't make eye contact. The man she'd loved for 9 years was now a stranger. The hearing was closed to the public, but the courthouse was surrounded by reporters. Sarah guided Claire through a side entrance, shielding her from cameras, and shouted questions. Judge Maria Santos was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She reviewed the evidence in silence, the text messages, the emails, the testimony from Madison and the other women, the financial records showing Ryan's pattern of expensive dinners and hotel rooms. "Mr. Mitchell," she said finally, "I've read your statement. You claim these allegations are false, that you are the victim of a coordinated attack." "Yes, Your Honor." Ryan's voice was respectful, measured. "I made mistakes in my marriage, but I never harassed anyone. These women are lying for financial gain." "Y'all 5 of them?" "Yes. And your wife? Is she lying too?" Ryan hesitated. "My wife is hurt and angry. She is being manipulated by people who want to destroy me." Judge Santos turned to Claire. "Mrs. Mitchell, you are seeking full custody with supervised visitation only. That is an extreme request. Can you explain why you believe your husband poses a danger to your child?" Claire stood, her hands resting on her belly. "Your Honor, my husband has demonstrated a pattern of lying, manipulation, and retaliation against women who don't give him what he wants. He has shown that he prioritizes his own desires over everyone else's well-being, including mine and our unborn sons. He missed every prenatal appointment. He can't tell you my due date or my doctor's name. He was too busy pursuing inappropriate relationships with employees. That doesn't make him a danger to the child. It makes him unreliable. It makes him someone who can't be trusted to put our son's needs first." Claire's voice strengthened. "I am not trying to keep Ryan from his son out of spite. I am trying to protect a vulnerable infant from a man who has proven he makes poor decisions and refuses to take responsibility for them." "Your Honor," Ryan's attorney stood, "my client is a successful businessman, a pillar of the community. He has never been violent, never been arrested. There is no evidence he would harm his child." "There is evidence he harms women," Sarah countered. 5 women have filed formal complaints. Madison Taylor has documented proof of his harassment and retaliation. Mrs. Mitchell has shown that he prioritized his affair over his pregnant wife's health and safety. That is not a man who should have unsupervised access to an infant." Judge Santos was quiet for a long moment, reviewing the documents before her. Finally, she looked up. "I am granting temporary full custody to Mrs. Mitchell. with supervised visitation for Mr. Mitchell pending a full custody evaluation. Mr. Mitchell will undergo a psychological evaluation and complete a parenting course before unsupervised visitation is considered. We'll reconvene in 6 months to review the arrangement. Ryan's face went white. Your Honor, that is my ruling, Mr. Mitchell. You are dismissed. Outside the courthouse, Sarah squeezed Claire's hand. You won. It is temporary, Claire said. He'll appeal, he'll fight. Let him. We have the evidence. We have the truth. Sarah smiled. Go home. Rest. Have that baby. Let me handle Ryan. Claire's parents drove her home to their house, which had become her sanctuary. Her father had finished the nursery, painting it a soft sage green with white clouds on the ceiling. Her mother had stocked it with everything a baby could need. That night, Claire stood in the nursery, one hand on her aching back, the other on her belly. The baby was quiet, resting, gathering strength for the journey ahead. Your daddy and I are getting divorced, she said softly. And I know that is going to be hard for you someday. You'll have questions. You'll wonder why we couldn't make it work. The baby kicked, and she smiled. The truth is, your daddy made choices that hurt a lot of people, and I made the choice to protect you from that. Some people will say I was wrong, that I should have tried harder, forgiven more, given him another chance. She paused. But I want you to grow up knowing that love isn't supposed to hurt, that relationships are built on trust and respect, that you should never have to beg someone to treat you with basic human decency. Her voice broke. I want you to be better than him, Kinder, more honest, more willing to take responsibility for your mistakes. And I am going to do everything in my power to make sure you are. The baby kicked again, stronger this time. I know you are ready to meet me, just a few more weeks. Little one, then we start our new life together. 3 weeks later, Claire went into labor on a Sunday morning, 3 days before her due. The contractions started slow, manageable, but by noon they were coming fast and hard. Her mother drove while her father sat in the back seat with Claire, holding her hand through each contraction. At the hospital, they were whisked into a delivery room, and suddenly everything was happening very fast. You are doing great, the nurse said. Just a few more pushes. Claire bore down, screaming. Her mother on one side and her father on the other. The pain was overwhelming, all-consuming. But underneath it was something else, determination, strength. The knowledge that she could do this. One more big push, the doctor said. Come on, Claire. You've got this. She pushed with everything she had, and suddenly there was a cry, loud, indignant, perfect. It is a boy, the doctor said, and placed the baby on Claire's chest. He was tiny, red-faced, covered in vernix, and absolutely beautiful. Claire looked down at him and felt her heart crack open in a way she'd never experienced before. Hi, she whispered. Hi, baby. I am your mama. The baby's eyes opened, dark blue, unfocused, and he looked at her like she was his entire world. What is his name? The nurse asked. Claire had thought about this for months. She'd made lists, considered family names, debated with her mother. But in this moment, holding her son, only one name felt right. James, she said. James Anderson Mitchell. Notice the name, her father's first name, her maiden name, Ryan's last name, but only as an afterthought. Claire isn't erasing Ryan from their son's life. She is just making it very clear whose values will shape this child. Ryan gets biology. The Andersons get everything else. That is not revenge. That is protection. Her father's name, her maiden name, and yes, Ryan's last name too, because whatever else was true, This was Ryan's son, but James would be raised by the Andersons, surrounded by their love and values. "Hello, James," her mother said, tears streaming down her face. "Welcome to the world, sweetheart." They spent an hour in the delivery room, just the four of them, Claire, James, and her parents. The nurses gave them space, understanding that this was a sacred moment. Finally, Claire's mother said gently, "Should we call Ryan? He has a right to know." Claire looked down at James, who was sleeping peacefully against her chest. "Sarah can call him, tell him he can visit tomorrow during supervised hours." "Are you sure?" "I am sure." Claire kissed James's forehead. "This is our time. Mine and James's Ryan gave up the right to be here when he chose Madison over us." Her mother nodded and stepped out to call Sarah. Claire's father sat beside the bed, looking at his grandson with wonder. "He is perfect. He is. You did good, sweetheart. I am so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you and Mom." "Yes, you could have. You are stronger than you know." He squeezed her hand. "But you'll never have to find out because we're not going anywhere." That night, after her parents left, and James was sleeping in the bassinet beside her bed, Claire allowed herself to feel everything she'd been holding back. The grief of her failed marriage, the anger at Ryan's betrayal, the fear of raising a child alone, the overwhelming love for the tiny human who was now her entire world. She cried quietly, careful not to wake James, and let herself mourn the life she'd thought she'd have, the happy family, the supportive husband, the partnership she'd believed in. But she also felt something else: relief, freedom, the knowledge that she'd never again have to sit in the back seat of her own life, never again have to compete for attention or beg for respect, never again have to wonder if she was enough. Because she was enough, she'd always been enough. Ryan's inability to see that was his failure, not hers. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah: "Congratulations. Ryan knows. He wants to visit tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll be there to super..." Claire typed back, "Thank you for everything. You did the hard part. I just handled the paperwork. Get some rest. You are going to need it." Claire smiled and set down the phone. She looked at James, sleeping peacefully, his tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. "It is just you and me now, buddy," she whispered. "Well, you and me and Grandma and Grandpa. And Aunt Sarah, who is going to teach you all about standing up for yourself and all the people who love us and support us." She paused. "Your daddy will be part of your life too. I won't keep you from him, even though he hurt me, because you deserve to know him, to make your own decisions about him when you are old enough. But I promise you this, I will always protect you. I will always put you first, and I will raise you to be the kind of man who treats people with respect and kindness." James stirred, made a small sound, and settled back into sleep. Claire lay back against the pillows, exhausted, but at peace. Tomorrow, Ryan would come. There would be awkward conversations and difficult moments. There would be custody arrangements and co-parenting negotiations and years of navigating a complicated relationship. But tonight, in this quiet hospital room, it was just her and her son, the beginning of their new life together. She closed her eyes and let herself imagine the future. James's first steps, his first words, his first day of school, teaching him to ride a bike, helping him with homework, watching him grow into a good man. A life without Ryan. She'd been broken, but she was healing. She'd been betrayed, but she was learning to trust again, starting with herself. And she'd been afraid, but she was finding her courage one day at a time, one moment at a time, starting now. Epilogue: 1 year later, Claire stood in the kitchen of her new apartment, a sunny two-bedroom in a family-friendly neighborhood, making James's first birthday cake. He was in his high chair, covered in mashed banana, babbling happily. "Mama," he said, and her heart melted like it did every time. "Yes, baby, mama, mama, mama." "That is right. I am your mama." The doorbell rang, her parents arriving early to help set up for the party. Her mother swept in with decorations, her father with a massive gift bag. "How is the birthday boy?" her father asked, scooping James out of the high chair. "Papa," James squealed. "That is right, buddy. Papa's here." The apartment filled with people, Claire's friends, her parents' friends, a few former colleagues from Mitchell Tech who'd stayed in touch. Madison came too, bringing a thoughtful gift and a genuine smile. She'd found a new job at a startup, was thriving, and had become an unexpected friend. Ryan arrived exactly at his scheduled time, accompanied by the court-appointed supervisor. He'd completed his parenting course and psychological evaluation, and now had unsupervised visitation every other weekend. It was awkward, but they were managing. "Hey, buddy," Ryan said, reaching for James. James looked at him with mild interest, then reached back for Claire. "Mama!" Ryan's face fell, but he recovered quickly. "It is okay, we'll play later." Claire felt a twinge of something, not quite sympathy, but not satisfaction either, just sadness for what could have been if Ryan had made different choices. Mitchell Tech had survived the scandal. Barely. Ryan was no longer CEO. The board had forced him out. But he'd retained his shares and was working as a consultant. The company had implemented new harassment policies, hired a female CEO, and was slowly rebuilding its reputation. Madison's lawsuit had settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. The other women had settled too. Ryan had never admitted wrongdoing, but he'd paid for his actions in ways that mattered. As for Claire, she'd started her own consulting business, working from home so she could be with James. It was challenging, juggling motherhood and entrepreneurship, but she was good at it, better than good. She was thriving. She'd also started dating again, cautiously. Nothing serious yet, but she was learning to trust her instincts, to recognize red flags, to know her worth speech. Someone called out as they gathered around the cake. Claire picked up James, held him close, and looked at the faces of everyone who'd supported her through the hardest year of her life. "A year ago," she said, "I was in a very different place. I was scared, hurt, and I didn't know if I could do this alone. But I wasn't alone. I had my parents, my friends, and all of you." Her voice caught. "You showed up for me when I needed it most. You believed me. You stood with me, and you helped me build this new life." She kissed James's head. "This little guy is the best thing that ever happened to me. He has taught me what unconditional love really means. He has shown me that I am stronger than I ever knew, and he has given me a reason to keep fighting, keep growing, keep becoming the person I want to be." She looked at Ryan, who was standing awkwardly by the door. "James has two parents who love him. We're not together, and we never will be again. But we're both committed to giving him the best life possible, and I think we're figuring it out." Ryan nodded, something like respect in his eyes. Claire turned back to her friends. "So thank you for everything, for being my village, for helping me raise this incredible little human, for reminding me that even when life falls apart, you can build something new, something better." She held up her glass. "To new beginnings, to second chances, to the family we choose and the love that sustains us. And to James, happy first birthday. Baby mama loves you more than anything in this world." To James, everyone chorused. They sang happy birthday, James smashed his cake with gleeful abandon. People laughed and took photos and celebrated this tiny human who'd brought so much joy into their lives. And Claire, watching it all, felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. She'd been through hell and come out the other side. She'd been broken and put herself back together. She'd been betrayed and learned to trust again. She was a single mother, an entrepreneur, a survivor. She was enough. She'd always been enough. And as James laughed and reached for her with cake-covered hands, Claire knew with absolute certainty that she'd made the right choice. Walking away from Ryan had been the hardest thing she'd ever done. It had also been the best, because now she had this life built on truth and love and respect. A son who would grow up knowing his worth. A future full of possibility. She'd lost a husband, but she'd found herself. And that Claire thought as she pulled James close and breathed in his sweet baby smell was worth everything. Here's what nobody tells you about men like Ryan. They don't leave because they found someone better. They leave because they found someone easier. Madison didn't challenge him, didn't have her own career, her own power, her own life that competed with his. She needed him. And Ryan, like so many men, confused being needed with being loved. Claire, meanwhile, learned the hardest lesson. You can't compete for someone's attention if they've already decided you are not worth it. She could have been thinner, prettier, less pregnant, more accommodating. It wouldn't have mattered because Ryan didn't want a partner. He wanted an audience. The cruelest part, Ryan genuinely believed he was the victim, that Claire was being dramatic and hormonal. That asking to sit in the front seat of her own husband's car was somehow unreasonable. He'd rewritten their entire relationship in his head, casting himself as the misunderstood hero, and Claire as the shrew who didn't appreciate him. But Claire did something Ryan never expected. She stopped playing. She didn't beg, didn't negotiate, didn't give him the satisfaction of a fight. She just left. And in doing so, she took back every ounce of power he'd stolen from her. So here's my question. When did you realize that being someone's everything meant you had nothing of your own? When did you understand that love isn't supposed to require you to shrink? Drop it in the comments, because I think we've all been Claire at some point, sitting in the back seat of our own lives, wondering when we became so small.